Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Banos Talk. My name is Justin Collins. Tonight's episode, I'm going to be talking about the election which is going on right now for school board. I'm going to give you the details as to who the candidates are, a little bit about those candidates, and what's truly at stake in this election. And I'll be giving you all of that information in just a moment, right after a brief message from our sponsor. And we're back. Thanks for watching. So first off, let's talk about what this election is and give a little refresher for those who don't know. So if we go back in time a few months ago, we remember that there was a vacancy open up when one of the board members who represented District 1 had to resign because she no longer resided in the district. She had moved to a different part of town. Now, we held a process that we could have had an appointed person to fill this vacancy for the remaining year and some change, but the board was split and the decision was 3-3, and they couldn't come to a decision on which candidate they would pick. And the two final candidates that it came down to were Jean Lieb and Alma Fabian. Now, we're having a formal election now, which it takes place on November 2nd, but if you live in District 1, you would have already received your ballots about a week ago. And this is a mail-in only election, but you can take your ballot to City Hall and cast your vote that way. But there are no voting assistance centers, and so a lot of the things that you would normally be able to do in this election, you can't. You can only vote by mail, and that's really your only option. Now, with that being said, the only people who can vote in this election are those who live in District 1. But a lot of people have interest in this election that don't live in District 1 at all. And the reason is because this election is for all the marbles, so to speak. So I want to talk to you a little bit about why this election is important and what's really at stake in this election. So honestly and truthfully, I will tell you that it's really not about the individual candidates themselves. Ideally, in an ideal world, we would want to think about this election being about, is this person better than this person? And comparing the two candidates individually on their individual merit as to who would be the better candidate. But in our school district, we basically have two political parties. One political party basically being LUDAC. And this is an organization that strives for education equality and is a national organization, but has a local organization as well, and focuses on meeting the needs of Latinx and Hispanic population within the community. 3 of those members are on the board, and those individuals are on the same team. And you have Jessica Moran, Gary Munoz, and Ray Martinez. Their choice for candidate is Alma Fabian, and she's also a member of this organization. Now, on the other side of the fence, we have Anthony Perea, Marlene Smith, and Mark Benton. Now, these 3 individuals are basically on their own team. Marlene Smith, interestingly enough, used to be on that LUDAC team, but then she pulled away. These 3 individuals are on that opposing team. And basically, I could summarize that team as representing status quo and representing the incumbency. In other words, individuals and people who've backed that side or have been a part of that side, so to speak, are individuals who've been on the board for years, and in some case 20 years plus, like Dennis Arias and others. So if you look at the health of the district and you want to talk about the way it's been led for the last 20 years or so, that side is the side that you can give credit to or blame depending upon how you feel about about it. The other side is more relatively new and has recently wrestled power away from that existing team, so to speak. Probably on the issue where these two sides disagree the most would be on the idea of racial representation. And this was seen in the meeting as well. The LUDAC side of the team basically says the population in Los Banos is about 70% Hispanic. And as a result, it makes sense that the representatives largely would also be Hispanic. They believe that the needs of the Latinx and Hispanic community have been pushed to the side and haven't been adequately met. They also believe that our educational system has been inadequate for the last several years and that our standards have lowered. They also claim that there has been a lot of nepotism within the school district and that teachers were not hired based on merit, but based on family connections and personal ties to hiring members in HR within our district. That more or less sums up the position of the LUDAC team, so to speak. Now, the position of the other side is one of largely currently oppose the LUDAC side at all costs. And the other side of it is that race should not be a factor or consideration of deciding who your elected official is, and that a person who is not the same race as someone else can still represent that person, care about that person, and share interests with that person. That side would also defend that the practices that have been going on the last 20 years have not been based on nepotism, but instead have been based on merit, and that it just so happens and coincidentally that the staff, etc., has been overwhelmingly white, and would argue that the reason it's been overwhelmingly white is because more white people apply and because more white people have run for office. So that would be the rebuttal to the LUDAC argument, and then the LUDAC argument would be the one that I just made. I'm not endorsing either particular argument. I'm just simply telling you the two politics at play and the opposing viewpoints. Now, with that being said, the key issue here is that the board is comprised of 7 people. And with that being said, you have 3 on Team LUDAC and 3 on Team Pereira. Let's just call it Team Pereira because he more or less is the leader and face of that team. So for lack of a better term, because there's no organization that I can really tie them all to, I'm just going to call it Team Pereira. So we have Team LUDAC and Team Pereira. And if Gene Lieb is elected, Anthony Pereira will get his 4th vote and will be elected as president of the board. And he has served as president of the board for many years and would then be regaining control over the school board. Now, if Alma Fabian wins this election, then now Ray Martinez will remain the president of the board. And so whatever happens in District 1, whichever candidate wins, the ultimate result is that it will decide which group has control over the board. But regardless of how you feel in regards to that, the reality is that this is the current makeup of the board. So in this particular election, District 1 will basically decide the fate for the entire school district. Now, individually, I'll tell you about the candidates. I'll start with Alma Fabian. She is a teacher in a different school district. She has a bachelor's degree in information management and technology. She has a master's degree in special education. She has children who attend the district, and she supports policies such as parental choice in either distant learning or in-person learning, increasing programs and things that help parents communicate with their teacher if they are of a Spanish background or any other language besides English. And of course, like I said before, would support and vote for Ray Martinez as president. Now we get to Gene Lieb, and most of you would know him from his role at the Los Banos Enterprise. He has a bachelor's degree in journalism, has been a Rotarian club member since 2004, has served as president 4 times of the Rotary Club, is known in the community for doing different projects and charity work, is currently involved with the Downtown Association and Chamber of Commerce. His background in terms of relating to education is that his son is a school teacher, And most of you would know him as being a journalist and photographer and ad salesman and really many hats roles from the Los Banos Enterprise, when the Los Banos Enterprise was still active in Los Banos. Now, as far as his platform or policies that he advocates for, I'm going to go off of what he put in his candidate statement according to the voter guide. And to sum it up, basically, he believes in college readiness and career technical education as well as ag. Additionally, he recognizes that coming out of the pandemic, we have more funding and that we need to talk about building more schools for the growth in our population. He uses a little divisive language here when he says he believes it's more important to create educational opportunities for children than paychecks for administrators. And he also recognizes the gamemanship and conflict among board members. And again, he's referring to the split board. But in all fairness, he can't really be innocent to it because he is on the other side and is just as much a part of that gamemanship as the other side. Because neither side, as they have shown from the interview, is willing to compromise. And there are some people who have said, well, that other side was willing to vote for other candidates, but they both were on the same team, and so not really. It's like saying Republicans were willing to compromise because they passed over one Republican for another Republican. No, compromise would be if Team Republican voted in a moderate Democrat. That would be compromise. But in this case, you had one Team Pereira candidate fail, and then a second Team Pereira candidate was then chosen. It really wasn't much of a compromise. That is unpopular to say, but I will tell you the truth. It is true. Now, on the ballot guide, Alma Fabian did not provide for a candidate statement, but she did pass out flyers around town showing what she would do if elected, and it also had her resume on it. If you found this information useful and you feel like it gave you some insight as to what's really going on with local politics in our community, then you need to watch Los Banos Talk, and you can subscribe to Los Banos Talk directly at the website at www.losbanostalk.com. And you'll get all the news straight to your email address, and you no longer have to be reliant on the Facebook news feed or Instagram news feed to get your news. Instead, all of it will be sent directly to you. Once again, my name is Justin Collins, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.